Hey, I'm excited to do this recording for you guys because the information I'm about to share with you, it changed my life, changed my family's life, and I just pray that it's going to be able to chance to reach you guys and change your family's life as well. About 24 years ago, I went and had my first chiropractic experience. And I had had no experience with that before that time. In fact, I was in really bad shape growing up. I had really bad asthma and allergies that when I was 7, my mom rushed me to the hospital. They gave me drugs, medications, and I was thankful for it. I was glad that I had a chance to take something that would help my symptoms. But of course, as I started taking more and more of those asthma medications, what I started recognizing is that I started having these headaches. So at 12 years old, I started having these severe headaches to the point that the headaches were so bad. My mom took me back to the doctor's office again. 12 years old, they said, hey, we think he's got headaches. Give him these Tylenol aspirin, and that should be good enough to deal with it. And so I started taking Tylenol aspirin just so I could put my football helmet on, just so I could study in study hall. And I was thankful for it. But all medicines have side effects, of course. And the side effects of the Tylenol aspirin was it started to eat a hole in my stomach. I started having stomach ulcers at 17 years old. So my mom took me back to the doctor again when I'm 17 years old. And they started me on acid reflux medication, which then threw off my digestive system. So I know a lot of you guys could probably relate to this. Maybe you guys have been there before. Maybe you guys have experienced this before. It got bad enough to where I was taking 4 different medications at a time. At the age of 21, when I was in my 3rd year of pre-med at University of Iowa, I wanted to be a doctor, exercise therapist, physical therapist. I couldn't really decide which pathway I wanted to go down. So I was in my 3rd year. My academic advisor said to me, she goes, you should go see my chiropractor. And I thought she was crazy because, number one, I'd never been to a chiropractor. I thought chiropractors only work with neck pain and back pain. And but she said, she goes, listen, she goes, 99% of chiropractors work with neck pain and back pain, and they're pretty good with it. But there's 1% of chiropractors that work with the healing power that God put inside your body. And if your body's not able to heal, there's something that's blocking it. And I was skeptical, but I went. And what he taught me was what I'm about to teach you guys. He taught me about how the body was designed to heal itself, how it's able to function, and that if you remove the interference, the body can heal on its own. And I was super skeptical, but I went and I started getting adjusted. And really within about the first 3 months, I started noticing massive changes, differences. I came off all 4 of my medications. Fast forward to today, 24 years later, I've still taken 0 medications in 24 years, other than about 9 years ago, I ruptured my Achilles and I did take 2 pain pills because Corona wasn't working anymore. Not coronavirus, Corona. And so, bad joke. But what I realized is that your body was designed to be able to heal itself. And so one of the things that I've noticed over the course of the years is that more and more people I teach this principle to, the more and more people's lives are completely changed and transformed. And so what I want to help you guys go through today is I'm going to teach you guys how the body was designed to be able to heal itself and how the body's able to function from the inside out. So I want to share with you guys one thing first, is that this is my crew. These are my girls. And yes, I have 4 girls, so I will take prayers and donations for weddings at the end here. The reason why I do love showing this is that these girls have lived the principles that I'm going to teach you guys today. We've never put a drug in their body. They've never had a chemical in their body, never had a shot in their body, never had a vaccine in their body. They know, all of them, if you ask them, they know that if they have a cold, a sickness, a pain, or a problem, we pray for them, we get them adjusted, eat healthy food, exercise, drink water, and detox their body. That is bottom line. We know that their body was designed to heal itself, and they've never had a chemical, even an over-counter drug, never had it in their body. And so I'm going to teach you guys today, and I have this big drug jug in the office that people have come into our office and they want to live the life that my girls have been able to experience. And we've gotten people off of, you name the medication, you name the drug, they've been able to come off of it because of the principles that I'm going to teach you guys today. You do one of 3 things about it. Number 1, you either ignore it. Number 2, you go to a doctor and cover up the symptom. Or number 3, you've got to get to the cause of the problem. I'm going to help you guys understand how to get to the cause of the problem today. But the first thing is, if you ignore it, it's only going to keep getting worse. If you're having a symptom right now and you go to the doctor, this is typically the pathway they take you on. The doctor, the test, drugs, doctors, more drugs, more symptom specialists, and then drugs, surgery, repeat. That's kind of how it goes down. How's this working out for us? When I ask that question to most people, they know that it's not working out very well, because this is our model of healthcare in our country that our doctors are teaching us, and it's not working out well for us. We're a very sick country. In fact, when I ask people who's responsible for your health, most people say, well, I know I'm responsible, but I'm like, but who do most people count on? And people say, well, they're doctors. And I'm like, how are they choosing their doctors? Well, most people only choose their doctors by who their insurance companies will allow them to go to. And as you're seeing right now, big pharma kind of dictates the narrative of what drugs and what vaccines and what things are going to be taken. Who's responsible for our health right now? These three industries are billion-dollar, trillion-dollar industries that are making tons of money off our sickness and disease, and they're not even actually getting you healthier. They're just covering up your symptoms. So these two Harvard doctors said, we're tired of you Americans complaining about our healthcare system. So we're going to prove it to you guys once and for all that we have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. And basically what they said is, they said, listen, we're going to show you guys that the healthcare system that we have is the perfect healthcare system for what this world needs. And so as they started diving in, they took the 37 richest countries in the world. Of the 37 richest countries, they started gathering data. And they wanted to find out, okay, what kind of money is spent, where are the medications readily available, who has cancer, who has heart disease. They just started gathering data. And as they started gathering data, they were blown away. Number one, and guess who spends the most money on healthcare every single year? And it's us. We spend about $8,000 per person every single year in this country. We also, guess who takes the most medications? We take the most drugs. We're 5% of the whole world's population, yet we take 75 to 80% of the world's drugs. So if we spend the most money and we take the most drugs, we should have been the healthiest country on the planet. These two Harvard doctors found that we were 37 out of 37. We have more cancer, more heart disease, more diabetes, more obesity, more babies that die before the age of 2 in this country than any other country in the world. And they said, because we are constantly chasing and covering up symptoms, we're not getting healthier, we're just covering it up and we're getting nowhere. So what I'm going to teach you today is where true health actually comes from. And true health, and the definition of health is that, I love using this function chart, is that health has more to do with how is your body functioning. And so on this function chart, we talk about functioning at 100%. Don't overthink this. If your body's functioning at 0%, what's wrong with your body? You're dead. Okay, you can't with 0% function, you're dead. At 100% function, what's right? Everything's right. You're thinking straight. Your hormones are balanced. You're a best husband, best wife, best dad, best mom, best kid, best everything. You get the best sleep. Your hormones are balanced. Best sex, best everything you have in your whole life. It's working when your body's functioning 100%. So what my whole job is for our patients that come through our door is to get your body back to or functioning at or close to 100%. If we can get you there, we can allow your body to start to go down that pathway. The problem with our country, though, is that most people base their health not on function. And when you ask the question, how do you know you're healthy? My number one answer I get is, I know I'm healthy because I feel good. Now, don't get me wrong. I get a ton of people that come to my office that would pay me lots of money just to feel good. The problem with that is, out of 100 people that are developing heart disease, do you guys know how 90 of them find out they have heart disease? They find out when they have the heart attack. How'd they feel the day before? They felt fine. Out of 100 people developing cancer, how do most people find out they have cancer? When it's early or when it's really late? Typically when it's really late in the process. So going by how you feel is a bad definition of health. What about eating right and exercising? Are those pieces of health? And we'd all agree that those are pieces. In fact, we teach these things in our office. We teach max mindset. We teach eating right, exercising, taking good care of yourself. We teach all these things in our office. And we know that and believe that they're super important. But eating right and exercising on their own is not the whole definition of health, because have you guys ever known anybody ate right, exercise, but still had cancer, heart disease, and diabetes ravaging throughout their body? And we all know people like that, even people that have died. How about this? Do you know anybody that smokes and drinks and does everything wrong, and they're still living at 95 years old and can't and just won't die? Everybody's got that great uncle that just won't die. And so the reality with that is, and I had these patients come into my office doors a few years back. Lady comes in, 37 years old. If you looked at her from the outside, she's beautiful on the outside. She looks healthy. She looks strong, all this good stuff. But yes, she has 2 forms of cancer, lung and breast cancer. Her lung cancer metastasized or spread to her breast. And she couldn't figure out, she's asking the doctors, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? Doctors are like, we don't know. We just think your body was unhealthy, wasn't able to process. She smoked when she was in college, and her body wasn't able to get rid of the stuff as it came in. And so because of that, her body kept getting sicker and sicker along the way. And so what happened is she eventually developed this cancer that her body just couldn't heal, couldn't get rid of. And so another lady comes in right around the same time as this lady, and her great grandpa was that guy. He was 95 years old, smoked and drank from the age of 15. So 80 years smoking, drinking, doing everything wrong. And everybody's baffled by how, and of course you ask the family, how did this guy live this long? And everybody says, oh, it's probably just good genetics. And the reality is if he had good genetics, that means everybody else that has his genes in the family that doesn't smoke and drink should live way longer than he does. But that's not true. And so what it comes down to is that when he smoked and drank and took everything into his body, what was his body able to do as it was going through that process? It was able to fight it, adapt to it, heal it, reject it, you name it. And so when they went right before he died, they did a scan of his lungs. They want to find out how much cancer he had. And you guys know it, right? How much cancer did he have? He had 0 cancer. The whole time his body, remember that function chart? His body was functioning at or near 100%. That's the goal. If your body's functioning, I'm not going to teach you how to function at 100% so you can go smoke and drink more. That's not what this is about. I'm going to help you, teach you how to get you and your family functioning at 100% so you can prevent sickness and disease and get rid of the symptoms, aches, and pains, not because we're trying to hide them, but because your body's actually truly healthy from the inside. In order to understand how the body functions, though, you got to start to see and understand how the body works and how it's designed. If you look here, the brain is what controls all functions of your body. So for you to think, for you to see, for your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for every single function of your body, your brain has to be able to send messages down through the spinal cord, out the nerves to all your organ cells and tissues. And so if your nerves are working perfectly to all your organ cells and tissues, guess how many aches and pains you have? 0. Guess how many heart conditions you have, cancers you have? You have 0. If the nerves are functioning 100%, there's 0 problems. If I take the nerve to your heart and cut the nerve to your heart, though, what's going to happen to your heart? It's going to die right now. If I cut the nerve to your liver, the liver's going to die. If I cut the nerve to your digestive system, it's going to die. We don't see cut nerves in our office, but what we see is pinched or choked nerves. See that brainstem and spinal cord? You have hundreds of millions of nerves inside your brain. And what it does is all these hundreds of millions of nerves, they come together and they form basically a bundle of wires, kind of like the old days where your computer or your TV had all the wires you just had to bundle together. Basically, that's what this is. Your nerves come together and they bundle into what's called your spinal cord. Now, your spinal cord is completely protected by the vertebra inside. And so really, if the spine's straight up and down here, then you have a proper functioning nerve system. If the spine starts to shift off to its side, it can cause stress or pressure there. As you look at it from the side, the neck from the side, if I face this way, you can see on this chart here, the neck has a good curve this way, and then back this way, and then back reverse the other way. That's there to protect it. If the spine and the vertebra are in the right position, then the body can heal and function like it's supposed to. What happens, though, is that when you get stress to the spine, we call it a subluxation process. I'll try to simplify this best I possibly can. A subluxation is very similar to a cavity in your tooth. That when you get a cavity in your tooth, every day that that cavity is there, it keeps rotting away. The subluxation process is basically what happens is when the vertebrae sit straight on top of each other like this, if the vertebrae move out of their normal position, it actually no longer can move the way that it's supposed to when it's in alignment. When it goes out of its position, it can't move like it's supposed to. And that degenerative process starts to wear down on the spine, causing stress. And what causes stress to your spine is what we call the 3 T's in chiropractic. There's traumas, which are physical stress, how you sit at work, car accidents, slips and falls, birthing process, you name it, how you sit in your car, all kinds of things. Some of you guys are working from home these days. Then the other thing is thoughts, emotional stress, okay? I know none of us have emotional stress right now, so I can just skip over that. But in all honesty, though, I see a lot of people, if they're really super stressed, their spines are degenerated and they're a mess. There's arthritis all over the place. And then the third thing is chemical stress. Being exposed to chemicals, even drugs that doctors are giving us to help us, those drugs to cover up symptoms, high cholesterol, high blood sugar issues, those drugs still cause damage or stress to your body and then ultimately into your spine. So On the process though, with a healthy spinal cord, you can see here, this is an x-ray that has a nice curve. This is a picture of the neck from the side. Here's the jaw, the person's facing and looking this way, and then you can actually see how the spine actually has a nice curve in there. Now on the cadaver right here, you can see there's the brainstem, there's the spinal cord. Remember, that's the bundle of nerves. And so if you look at it, this is what, if I take a cross section of it, the bundle of nerves, the wires, looks like this. This is what hundreds of millions of nerves look like going down through your spine. And it's a nice oval shape when the spine is nice and relaxed and curved. But when you get stress or a subluxation of your spine, every day that it's there, the spine goes from having a nice curve, then it starts to lose its curve over time, like you can see in the second picture here. And what that does is it stretches and lengthens that spinal cord. And it's, think about a garden hose. If I take a garden hose and I stretch it, what happens to the diameter? It gets smaller. So now watch what happens with the cross section of the spinal cord. So people ask me all the time, okay, I get it. I get why if you adjust my spine, it can help my neck pain, or it can help my digestive or my back problems. But how does it help digestive problems, anxiety, depression? How does it help Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, immune disorders? How does it help things like focus and attention things, and just overall stress or sleep, or my baby that has ADD or speech problems, or you name it? How does it help those things? And this is why that picture over here on the right shows you that there's massive pressure on the brainstem and spinal cord. In fact, if you start to look at that process, and I love this video here because it shows you the degenerative process. You can actually see it. It's going to click on degeneration, called arthritis, disc degeneration. Just think of it like rotting of the spine, or like a cavity in your tooth. You'll see the muscles are going to come off here. You can see there's the nerves. Here's the spinal cord, and these are the disc spaces. And this is 10 to 20 years. That's 30 to 40 years, and that's 50 to 60 years. Okay, so the x-rays actually that we take of you will show us how long has this degeneration been going in the wrong direction. The problem is if we do nothing about this though, if we do zero things about the spine as it goes through its degenerative process, what's going to happen is it's going to keep breaking down, and it's going to keep going down this degenerative pathway, causing more pressure on the nerves. So what our number one job is to find it where you're at and start to remove the pressure where you're at. So if it's been there for more than 30 or 40 years, you'll start to see some of the disc spaces wear away. And then 50 to 60 years, you'll start to see more and more disc spaces start to wear away. The further along it is in degeneration, the longer it's been there. And so what our number one job is to determine where you're at. That's what the scans and x-rays do in our office. And x-rays will show us with pretty good specificity how degenerative your spine is. And if it's been there for a long time, that means it's going to take more time for your body to go through the healing process. But our number one job is, if you have pressure on the nerve system, is to get you adjusted right now. The sooner we can get you adjusted, the sooner we can take the pressure off the nerve system, the sooner your brain can start to communicate through it, and it can start to go through its healing process. Then our second job is to stop your spine from going any further down this degeneration pathway and reverse it and get it going in the right direction. And that's what most doctors don't have a chance to do that, but we've learned through Max Living how to actually take that through a corrective process. I'm going to go through that a little bit more here in a second. Let me show you guys what a normal abnormal x-ray looks like so you can see. This is a picture of a low back. You can see these are the hips, actually more like the pelvis. The pelvis is perfectly level. The spinal column, the lower back, is perfectly straight up and down. This lady here is 40 years old. She has 100% function to her nerve system. Her body's healing, doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And you guys can see the spine is perfectly straight up and down. Now, this guy on the right, you can see the hips are out of balance and the vertebrae are shifted off to the right-hand side, almost like a scoliosis. That's causing massive amounts of pressure on the nerve system down through this region, and it's not communicating the way that it's supposed to. So here's what happens is this has been there for a long time. He comes into my office at 30 years old. He'd been to all kinds of doctors. In fact, at 20 years old, they put him on he started having right kidney failure. So now what I want you guys to understand, let's back up. All the nerves in here are not working at 100%. That means all the organs in here are not working at 100%. So in his case, it could be affecting his digestive system. It could be affecting his stomach. It could be affecting his liver, his kidneys, his male organs, his prostate. It could affect his sciatic nerve, his low back, all those things, right? But at 20 years old, because of the way that the body's designed, when you have pressure on nerves, symptoms don't come about until really late in that process. I showed you guys that function chart before, that when you have 100% and 0%, at 100% is where you want to be, right? You want to be at that 100%. But as you start to go through 90%, 80%, 70%, 60%, it's not until you hit 60% function that you actually feel something or finally a symptom shows up. So this spine's been this way for a long time in this guy's life. The first symptom that showed up was right kidney failure. And so at 20 years old, doctors treat symptoms only, right? They gave him a pain pill. As they started taking a pain pill, how does that fix your problem? It doesn't. It hides a symptom, right? So at 25, they put him on dialysis. Do you guys know what dialysis is? 3 days a week for 5 hours a day, he got hooked up to a machine to try to clean his body out. How does that fix the problem? It doesn't. Finally, at 30 years old, they want to do a kidney transplant. So what they're going to do is take this bad kidney out, put your good kidney in his body, and what's going to happen to your good kidney in this guy's body? It's going to die. And so what he did is, when he came to my office, I took this picture and I said, listen, Adam, if we don't take the pressure off this nerve system, you don't need to only worry about this kidney. You need to worry about all the other organs in here. And he's like, nobody's ever showed this to me before. We started adjusting him, taking pressure off the nerve system, started correcting the spine. Within about 3 months, he came off his dialysis and came off his pain pills. Praise God, right? After 6 months, he cancels his kidney transplant. But here's what I love. And this is what he said to me. He goes, what I love about this is I know my kidney's not perfect yet, but I know that the longer that I keep the pressure off and I keep the body moving towards 100% function, the more function I'm going to get to all my organs, cells, and tissues, not just this kidney. Everything's actually getting healthier because the body's going down the right pathway. Picture the neck from the side. So you can actually see on this person, they're facing this way. And so here's the jaw, here's the back of the head over here. And these are the individual vertebrae right here. These are the disc spaces, the dark spaces. You like to see that kind of width in the disc spaces. That looks perfect. And the curve is in a great position. The curve, you'd like to see it between 40 and 45 degrees. So when you see your x-rays, you want to be 40 to 45 degrees. Anything that deviates away from that tells us through research that there's pressure on the brainstem and spinal cord that's not allowing your brain to communicate down through it. So in this case right here, she's 50 years old, functioning at or near 100% function. Now, over here on the right-hand side, though, that's a diseased spine. You can actually see the disc spaces are very narrow, and the spine, instead of being curved, is actually leaning forward at -10 degrees. Now, that lady, she's also 50 years old. So she's 50 and she's 50. No symptoms, all kinds of symptoms. So age really doesn't matter who has this. This is why we're big fans of checking everybody in your family, because even from birth, there could be a lot of stress. And then they start pumping vaccinations into your kids. That's chemicals and drugs and all these things. And they get all this stress, and it can cause so much pressure or damage to the spine. And so you can see this one on the right. She's taking 6 different medications. Now, if I flip the nerve chart back up and I showed you what nerves this goes to, you could start to pick off some of the medications. She's on 6 meds. She's on 1 for high blood pressure. She's on 2 for thyroid. She's on 1 for sinus headaches, 1 for depression, and 1 for anxiety. And every time she goes back to the doctor, this might sound familiar, they want to put her on another drug, a new drug, something different, something more powerful, or change it completely. They're chasing symptoms only. They've never got to the core source of what can get her healthy. She comes to our office, we start adjusting her, we put her on a plan. We started adjusting her on a regular basis with a whole goal of trying to get her to a maintenance care plan. But as we're adjusting her and we allow the brain to start to communicate, her body's able to heal. And here's what happens. Within 3 months, she came off of all 6 of her drugs, and she dumped them in this big drug jug that we have in our office. And praise God, she's healthy, happy, alive, functioning, has all the energy in the world. That's what we're looking for our patients. These are 2 kids, same family, same parents, same food, same school, same everything. In our country, we believe in this thing called the germ theory. And the germ theory states that if you have a germ, you're my brother or my sister, and I cough on you, you should get my germs and you should get sick. Because we believe in this thing called the germ theory, the coronavirus theory, right? That's why people wear masks and do all that. Here's the key. These 2 kids live right next to each other, sleep right next to each other. They eat the same food. They're around the same thing. You guys know this in families. You see sometimes there's somebody in the family that seems to get sick all the time, or there seems to be somebody in the family that never gets sick. Maybe it's at work. You see that as well. Out of these 2 kids, knowing what you know now, which one would you say is the little kid that had chronic ear infections, antibiotics, tubes in her ears twice, and was starting to lose her hearing? Which one would be the sick little girl if you guys had to guess? And you guys probably guessed right, because most people do. It's this one that's minus 13 degrees. The only reason why we knew this was there, she went to 6 different specialists before she came to our office. The only reason why we knew this was there because one of her friends, mom's friends said, you've got to go see Dr. Mark. You've got to do something different. We took this picture, and sure enough, guess where the brainstem and spinal cord right here? Guess what they control? They control focus. They control sleep. They control your immune system. They control ears, eyes, nose, throat. They control the healing of the body from the head up, from the neck up. And so sure enough, you can see how much damage, how much pressure is there. She's a mess. And we started adjusting after 2 weeks. Came completely off all of her antibiotics and never had another ear infection again, never missed another day of first grade. Now, here's the kicker. We kept her going on the right pathway so she didn't become sick, but we also checked her brother, we checked her sister, and her mom and her dad. Now, guess why we checked everybody? We're big fans of finding out where the cause is so it doesn't keep causing more problems later on down the road. Now, her brother's not that bad, but we don't want to wait until it gets like her before we start to do something about it. Like, you would hope that your parents taught you how to brush your teeth before your first cavity. You want to hope that they got you here instead of letting you get to here. And this is way easier to fix and maintain than it is over here. And that's why we have the majority of our patients in our office are on maintenance and wellness care plans. And some of you guys, if your spine comes in and it's in really bad shape, we have to go through what's called a corrective care plan, but we try to get everybody to this point of maintenance care like this family. We ended up getting them there. This is a picture of Jen. This is what I talked about with corrective care. You can see Jen here on the initial x-ray. It's reversed in the wrong direction, -6 degrees. And so massive migraine headaches since she was 9 years old. She's 21 years old in this picture. Multiple chiropractors, many specialists, taking about $1,000 a month worth of medications. Nothing's fixing the problem. And so the chiropractor she would go to, she'd get a couple of adjustments. It'd feel good. Headaches would kind of go away, but they'd always come back. And so chiropractors, in a lot of sense, the way they teach us in school are very similar to medical doctors, that they teach us only to adjust people for what insurance companies will accept. And insurance companies only accept pain-based care. They don't accept relief. They don't accept maintenance care and taking good care of yourself. They only accept pain-based care like they do for the medical world, that you have to have a symptom, but once the symptom goes away, then there's no more insurance. So Jen would go to the chiropractor, get a couple of adjustments, headaches would go away, and the insurance company would stop paying. And that's how insurance companies are set up, including Medicare, Medicaid, everything else. Blue Cross Blue Shield, you name it. If you have it, it works this way. So I said to her, I said, Jen, I wish your insurance company would pay for everything. I really do. I wish everybody's insurance would pay for everything, but it's not the case, unfortunately. And I said to Jen, I said, listen, I will adjust you until you get out of symptoms, but we need to fix the whole problem. And so in order to do what we call max living corrective care in our office, think of it like braces on your teeth. When you got braces on your teeth, or if you know somebody got braces on their teeth, when they put the wires on, if they would have went in there the first day and tried to correct it all the way, what would have happened to your teeth? It would have broke every tooth off in your mouth, right? So what they did is they said, let's put the wires on and we're going to tighten it a little bit today. And then next month, we're going to do what? Tighten a little bit more. Next month, tighten a little bit more. And so what that is called constant pressure over time. The same thing happens with the spine, is that I can try to go and adjust your spine to perfect curvature with one adjustment, but it's not going to happen. It will cause too much problem. So here's what we do is we do constant pressure over time. And so what we do is I could adjust you. I could have adjusted Jen every single day and I would have moved her spine. But nobody wants to come to my office 7 days a week, and I don't want to work 7 days a week. So what we do is with our Max Living Corrective Care, we've learned that if we adjust you 1, 2, or 3 times a week, depending on what your care plan and what your spine says, okay? Some of you might be 3, 4, or 5 times a week at the beginning. And then what we do is on the days that you're not there, we give you these home stretches exercises, stretches for your neck and your spine to keep you moving in the right direction. Now, what that does is it allows the pressure to start to come off your nerve system and keep it moving in the right direction, even past when you have symptoms. So after the 6th adjustment I gave her 2 weeks in, her migraine headaches completely went away. In fact, this is 15 years ago. She stopped in this last Christmas and said, Dr. Mark, I want to let you know I moved away 15 years ago, but I want to let you know I still had 0 headaches over the course of this last 15 years. And see, the key is that if I would have stopped adjusting her after 2 weeks, if they would have taken my braces off after 2 weeks, my teeth would have never moved. If I would have taken an x-ray of her after 2 weeks without going through a whole corrective care, her spine would have looked exactly the same. What we did for her is in the course of 3 months, we took her through this process where we started changing the structure of the spine. You can see over here on the right, 3 months in, 36 visits in, you can see your spine starting to go in the right direction. I know you guys are thinking like, that's a lot of visits, 36 visits. Yeah, but do you want to fix it or do you want to keep dealing with it for the rest of your life? And it makes total sense to her that she reversed everything in a short amount of time because we got after it. Now, once we get to a good position though, she, after 15 years, she still maintains it and goes and gets her regular checkups because she doesn't live in a bubble. She still works on computers and is on her phone all the time like all you guys do. And so that's what happens. And so this is Charlene. Unfortunately, she had a whole different chiropractic experience. She went to a chiropractor 20 years ago. And when she first went, her spine had a phase 1 of degeneration. Okay. And that phase 1 of degeneration was just like this. Now, after 20 years of regular chiropractic care, her spine went completely the wrong direction. And you could barely see every disc in the spine is almost completely worn out. And she moved to Charlotte and she goes, hey, I want to come start getting adjusted. I love you guys. I love chiropractors. And I took this picture and she was floored about how bad her spine looked. She goes, I don't understand. I went to a great chiropractor. And I go, well, what did he do? And she goes, well, he would adjust me once a month and my neck pain would go away. And so, but think about it like my braces. What if they put my braces on for 1 day a month, tighten it up, but then took it off for 29 days? And the next month, put it on for 1 day and took it off for 29 days. My teeth would have only kept getting worse and never would have moved in the right direction. That's the type of care that she had. She had 1 day forward. The neck felt good, but it kept getting worse. After 20 years, now she has depression, anxiety, thyroid issues, all stemming from damage to her nerve system. And so because of that, her body kept getting sicker and had all these other problems. And she thought adjustments were just about neck pain. And, unfortunately for her, she was so tied up. Her insurance company and that doctor that she went to was a network with her insurance. And he would only see her for her insurance visits, which was only 12 a year. And she probably needed 40 or 50 or 60, maybe 70 visits to fix the problem. But they never did that because that's not the type of chiropractor he had. There's plenty of chiropractors out there that will adjust you just for aches and pains. But what we do and why we get such great success in our office is because we go through that corrective care plan like what we did with Sam here. And you can see Sam's picture right here. Just so you guys know, this is a shadow of a hand, a reflection. So it's not, he didn't swallow a demon. You can see his teeth right there, right? But you can see Sam's picture. You see he's got no curve in his spine. His great grandma, one of my favorite patients of all time, she goes to me, she goes, Dr. Mark, I don't understand a word you say, you talk too fast. She goes, but what I do understand, her name was Hazel. She was 94 years old. She goes, Dr. Mark, she goes, what I do understand is if you have a good spine, you have good health. And if you have a bad spine, you have bad health. I'm like, oh my gosh, come teach my class. Like you could teach everybody if you but with that little bit of knowledge, she referred in like 18 members of her family, all with different problems. See, most people think chiropractors are neck pain and back pain, but it's so much bigger than that when you start to look at the nerve system and the function of everything. She goes, listen, she referred in her niece that had cancer. She referred in her nephew that had diabetes. She referred in her brother that had heart conditions. She referred in a few people with sciatic nerve problems and neck pain and all the other things too. And I said, the only way I know if we can help them is we got to take the pictures. She goes, hey, do you think, and this is the 18th person that she sent into my office. His name was Sam, her great grandson. She goes, do you think you can help my great grandson, Sam? And I go, what's going on? She goes, well, he's got severe depression and anxiety. They put him on 3 different medications. And yesterday he tried to put a rope around his neck and tried to hang himself and end his life. She goes, do you think you can help him? And I said, man, I really don't know. I go, but here's what I know. I need to see what his spine looks like. And you can see how bad his spine is. And that brainstem and spinal cord just is not communicating. His brain knows how to get his life back on track, but it can't if it's not connected here. So we started adjusting him 3 times a week. So sometimes it goes 3 times a week, depending on what your spine looks like. So when you see your x-rays, when you make the appointment and come in and see your x-rays, we'll help you understand this. But you can see we started adjusting him 3 times a week. After 2 weeks, with the help of his doctor, they came off his antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs. Within 4 weeks, he started running every single day on the beach. I used to live down at the beach. And then after 6 weeks, he started teaching Sunday school at his church. He got his life back. He got his life back on track, got off the meds, got his life back. But here's what I want you guys to see. After 90 days of us adjusting him, Look over here on the right. This is what his spine looks like. Same kid, but now he has a textbook normal curve in his spine. And so again, I show you guys this because I want you guys to see what true health, what true healing is. When you see your x-rays, everything makes sense. But I also want to show you this because you guys know there's so many people that you guys know, friends, family members, maybe even sitting with you right now that have sickness and disease, and all they're doing is covering up with drugs and surgeries, and they're never getting to where the true core source of health really comes from. This is the last picture I want to show you guys before I finish up. This is Timmy. And you can see his spine straight up and down. You can see his bones, his teeth are smaller. He's a little boy. He's 4 years old. And this is picture taken back in November 23rd, 2005. One of his mom's best friends happened to be sitting through a class that I teach that's very similar to this. And basically, the mom's best friend said, hey, before I see my x-rays, I've got to make a phone call to my best friend, Beth. Her son, Timmy, is having really bad problems he's got this autoimmune problem where his body's eating away at the joints in the inside, and he's got this skin rash, skin condition, and they're basically giving him very little time to live. And all they keep doing to him, the doctors keep giving him medication. So they spent over $200,000 worth of testing uptown here at the major hospitals. At the end of the day, the doctors come in and said, there's nothing more we can do. Give him these steroids. We think he's got about 3 months left to live, best we can see. We just don't know what else to do. And so, of course, if you're a parent, you're not stopping there. You're going to go wherever. And so you would think that they would come to my office next, but they didn't. They went to Duke, and they spent over $100,000 out of their own pocket because the insurance company would not cover any more tests. And after $100,000 worth of testing, the doctor comes in the room and says, I'm sorry, your son has the same diagnosis, and we think he's got about 3 months left to live, and there's nothing more we can do. And the parents are just like, oh my God, what do we do? And thank God one of mom's best friends was sitting in my class a few years back in 2005. And she says, listen, before I see my x-rays, I got to call Beth, and she needs to get her son over here right away. And so they came in the next morning, and for $40, we took this x-ray. So already in their mind, they're thinking, chiropractor, no way this is going to work. $40, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, no way it's going to work. Adjustments, how's that going to work? And I showed them this. I showed them all these x-rays. I showed them the evidence about how the body works. And I also showed them that the biggest piece of the immune system actually runs through the core, the brainstem, and the spinal cord through research you can look at everywhere. It's all over the place. Neurologists will tell you this. And so here's the key with this, though. I said, if you do nothing about this, what's going to happen? They're like, he's going to die. And I said, we need to get started right away, because the sooner we can take pressure off your nerve system, the sooner your body starts healing the way that it's supposed to, the way that God designed it, and the faster your body starts healing and functioning, the better it starts to go down the right pathway. I don't know what's going to happen to him, but I know that he cannot function at this level. He cannot heal the best he can until we start taking this pressure off. So we started adjusting him, and we started adjusting him 3 times a week. After about 2 weeks, his rash started going away. He came off all of his steroids. 3 weeks in, no more rash. 4 more weeks in, never had another ache and pain in his body. And about with it now 5-6 weeks in, you could never tell that the kid ever had an issue ever in his life. A year later, they saw the pediatrician in the community at Discovery Place. And the pediatrician went over to mom and said, hey, whatever happened to Timmy? And she's like, oh, he's right there. Ask him yourself. And she goes, oh my gosh, what happened? What the steroids must have kicked in. And the mom's like, no, it wasn't the steroids. We took him to a chiropractor. And you know what the pediatrician said? Oh, there's no way that works. There's no way that, but you guys just saw, and I just proved to you guys and showed you guys through the nerve system that the brain sends messages. See, your body was designed to heal itself. And if your body's not healing itself, there's a reason why it's not healing itself. And so my challenge for you guys today is that if you don't know what your spine looks like, you gotta find out what it looks like. You gotta know if your brain's communicating with your body properly. And if you've already done that, then we're about to look at your x-rays. It's gonna be amazing. When you see it, it will set you free. It'll help you understand. This is what changed my life years ago. When I went to the chiropractor and he showed me my x-rays after explaining all this to me, finally, for the first time, I knew that I had pressure on my nerve system that was shutting off, causing all my problems, and it changed my life forever. So hope you guys have a great and blessed day. Can't wait to go over your x-rays with you so we can see and understand what exactly is going on. Have a blessed day, guys.